Please kindly mute your mics, please. I think I have to mute everyone. Oh.
The Director General of National Biotechnology Development Agency, my friends who are on the other side, Mrs. Kidado, Dr. Do, Abutu, and others. I cannot mention everybody, but I recognize and welcome all of you to this special session. The title of my presentation is the Safety Evaluation Procedures of Genetically Modified Products from the Laboratory to the Field. This is the outline of my presentation, which involves introduction, safety concerns, GMOs and biosafety, regulatory scope of Mbma, stages of biosafety regulation, safety procedures, Mbma regulatory decisions, and concluding message. The advent of modern biotechnology offers great potentials and ensure food security and other benefits to the world. However, technological advancements are characterized by some potential adverse effects, and modern biotechnology is not left out. Genetically modified organisms, also known as genetically engineered products, are products arising from modern biotechnology. Specific changes have been made to the DNA to contain and exhibit specific characteristics. What are the safety concerns of genetically modified organisms? The safety concerns are in the area of environment, food safety, and socio-economic considerations. The environmental concerns include will genetically modified organisms, when released into the environment, become super organisms or super weeds? Will they become invasive? Will they become dominant that other organisms cannot survive within the environment? And what are the food safety concerns? When genetically modified organisms consume, will they become toxic to humans and to animals? Will they become allergic to humans and some other concerns? And what are the socioeconomic considerations? The socioeconomic considerations are normally done towards the end of the decision-making process to decide whether these products will have any socioeconomic negative consequences. Will our farmers lose when they adopt and use these products? Will our international partners not trade with us again? And so on and so forth. Biosafety refers to application of laws. Now let's look at what is biosafety. Biosafety refers to application of laws, policies, regulations, guidelines, knowledge, techniques, measures, equipment, and procedures for minimizing, eliminating, or totally ensuring there are no potential risks that modern biotechnology and its products may pose to the environment, and sustainable use of biological diversity, taking into account risks to human health. Biosafety in Nigeria is dated as far back as 1992, when the first guidelines were developed under the Federal Ministry of Environment. However, in 2015, the National Biosafety Management Agency was born, whose mandate is to provide regulatory framework, institutional and administrative mechanism for safety measures in the application of modern biotechnology in Nigeria, with a view of preventing any adverse effect on human health, animal, plants, and environment. Scope of the Mbma regulation. In the full discharge of her mandate, Mbma will regulate modern biotechnology research activities which are domiciled in research institutes. And we also look at the containment facilities, which are basically the areas where the research activities take place. When we talk about containment facilities, we're looking at the labs and greenhouse, which are being used for modern biotechnology activities. And we're also talking about confined field trials. These are small fields to where genetically modified organisms are released so that their performance in the natural environment is assessed. Then multilocational trials to assess these organisms at various ecological zones to assess their performance at various ecological zones. Farm demonstrations, where farmers can come to take a look at this product to see their performance on the field. And the general release. This time we're talking about the commercialization of genetically modified organisms. For any reason, at a larger scale, now farmers cannot buy them, anybody cannot buy it. Then once they are commercialized, they can also be used for food, feed, and for processing apart from farming. As well, transboundary movement of genetically modified organisms, we also regulate this. The GMOs packaging, how they are packaged, and how can they be identified, and transportation means. We must also ensure that these are within our regulations. GMO processing and manufacturing companies, these are also assessed to determine whether they are within their regulatory confines. Thus, dealings with genetically modified organisms. Unintentional movement and illegal release of genetically modified organisms. We also ensure that these do not happen. Specific functions of National Biosafety Management Agency. Before any institution in Nigeria carries out genetic engineering, such institution must be accredited to ensure that those institutions have the ability to contain genetically modified organisms and their materials. And we also certify their containment facility, their labs, and greenhouse gases, greenhouses as well. We also ensure that they are within specific regulations to ensure that they have ability to contain these materials. Then risk assessment applications. Risk assessment is fundamental to biosafety. Risk assessment and risk management. Risk assessment is the first thing we look at before we can really ascertain whether any organism is safe. Accordingly, to protect the health and well-being of Nigerians, players are required to obtain approval from the National Biosafety Management Agency before any dealings with modern technology and with GMOs. This procedure is clear and straightforward. Part 7, Section 24 of the National Biosafety Management Agency Act 2015 as amended states, no person, institution, or body shall import, export, transit, or commercialize any genetically modified organism or products intended for direct use as food or feed or for processing, unless with the approval of the National Biosafety Management Agency. What are the stages of biosafety regulation in the country? As earlier said, biosafety is assessed at every developmental stage, that is, from the lab. The entire process is subjected to biosafety procedures. Then the research laboratory. Mbma accredits, as earlier said, and certify modern biotechnology research facilities as well. Mbma ensures that the Biosafety Laboratory Manual 2018 is followed to ensure that procedures prescribed within the manual are followed. The Mbma safety procedure for confined field trials, multilocational trial, and commercial release. Before anybody releases or carry out any activity, completion and submission of application is carried out. You can obtain this application form from our website, www.mbma.gov.mg, along with dossier and the covering letter by application once that application is completed. Then at the Mbma level, that is acknowledged within 90 days. Within, which means could be less, could be 1 week, depending on the volume of work we have. Then we also checked for the completion of such application after the acknowledgement. Once the application is complete, we go ahead with other processes. Then we also seek the public view by displaying these products, this material, they're displaying the application dossier. And this we expect the members of the public to confirm or make any comment on the application within 21 days. We collate these public views, which will also guide our processes. Anybody who responds to our display, public display, we also acknowledge such a person. We also established National Biosafety Committee and National Biosafety Technical Subcommittee. The National Biosafety Committee is basically made up of line ministries and agencies and some experts, while the National Biosafety Technical Committee is made up of experts, it may not be more than 5, to have an in-depth look and analysis of the application, which will now guide the MBC in finalizing their decision-making process. Once the MBC decides on whether the application is suitable for approval or otherwise, such is submitted to the National Biosafety Management Agency for the agency to take its final decision. We could reject or request for more information to enable us to make a final decision on the application. We have taken some decisions so far, and these decisions are within the accreditation, approval, confined field trials, and also for commercialization. For accreditation, we have accredited the National Root Crop Research Institute, Mudike, Institute for Agricultural Research, Zaria, Federal University of Technology, Akure, National Cereal Research Institute, Badegi, and the National Biotechnology Development. We found these institutions competent to be able to do genetic engineering, and they also have ability to contain the materials that are derived from genetic engineering processes. We have also approved some confined field trials. We have some of these approvals are about 45 cassava enhanced with provitamin A, the National Root Crop Research Institute, Umudike, about 45 cassava enhanced with iron at National Root Crop Research Institute, Umudike, and others will also have the confined field trial, which is for resistant to cassava mosaic virus and brown streak virus at National Root Crop Research Institute, Umudike. We also permit for commercial release. So far, we have also granted approval for 2 products, which are the BT called genetically modified cotton for insect resistance, and another one is for permit, which also granted for the use of the following events: maize in rain. We have also granted another for genetically modified cowpea, which is also for insect resistance. And we have also granted permit for some products, basically maize and soybean. The maize is for feed processing, while that of the soybean is for vegetable oil processing. What are the Mbma framework of safety assessment, amongst others, is based on risk assessment, risk management, and risk communication. Risk assessment means a structured, reasoned approach to address uncertainty based on scientific, technical, and evidence. Risk assessment performed prior to the beginning of work with potential biohazardous agents or at any time when a change occurs to existing procedures, protocols, and standard operation procedures. While risk assessment, when the risks are determined, when there are risks, risk assessment approach is adopted. And again, risk communication is based on identifying risks and their management by making the members of the public to understand whether there are risks or not. And basically, risk assessment should not be done in a way that will cause panic to the members of the public. Risk assessment and risk management of genetically modified crops to commercialization. Risk assessment is conducted by applicants. Basically, the applicant conducts the risk assessment. It is risk assessment report and risk management report that are submitted along with the dossier for the agency to look at. And while this is being looked at, we also look at various literature to ensure that the report that has been submitted, they are in line with the scientific processes. Mbma review risk assessment of GMO crop based on description of GM crops, characterization, look at the characteristics of donor, recipient, and parental organisms. We look at the characteristics of whether the parent where the gene is being obtained has been safe over the years. And if it's now infused into a new organism, how does it perform? Has it led to the manifestation of new toxins or otherwise? So these are the issues that are looked at when you are doing a risk assessment analysis. Monitoring is very, very key. Monitoring and inspection is very, very key. Most times, the monitoring is being carried out by the permit holder, while the inspection is being carried out by the agency. This is for the permit holder to meet up with some terms and conditions which are already within the application conditions. Once there's a violation of the terms and conditions granted to a permit holder, there are consequences. These consequences are prescribed in the Act. Part 9 of the Act and Section 35 of the Act further stipulates that individuals and organizations who contravene the Mbma Act 2015 will be subject to. This conviction may be 5 years imprisonment or a fine of 2.5 million or both, depending on the discretion of the judge. And sometimes the facility can also be sealed up or confiscated. Other safety procedure by Mbma, we want impose any additional measures for risk assessments when the need arises, revoke or suspend permit for commercialization upon confirming the potentials of any GM product to pose any negative effects to the environment, and this is not disclosed by the permit holder. Take action necessary to ensure compliance with the obligations set out in the permit for GM crop commercialization, and undertake any measures necessary to avoid risk or danger to human health and the environment where permit holder fails to act. Concluding messages. The Mbma is well positioned to effectively manage and ensure safety in the safety standards and rules provided by Mbma ensure dealings with GM products are in check. Mbma will continue to ensure compliance with safety standards in relating to Mbma Act and Mbma regulations and guidelines in the use of genetically modified organisms. Mbma, part of ensuring its effectiveness, working with relevant ministries and agencies, have developed other guidelines and regulations and documents to effectively comply with and effectively ensure biosafety within the country. Apart from the Act, we also have biosafety policy. We have GM detection analysis laboratory, which is one of our instruments we use to ascertain whether any product is genetically modified or otherwise. We also have biosafety guidelines. We have National Biosafety Committee and NBC guidelines, then National Biosafety Manuals, and forms. You can reach us through various communication means. We have the National Biosafety Management Agency website. We also have the UN Biosafety Clearinghouse. We have a node there. If you click onto Nigeria, you get all the relevant information that we have posted there. Then you can also, through the social media, we are also very active. We have our Facebook handle, then on the Twitter handle as well. Then you can also communicate us through our email, which you can see from there, and also our telephone line. Thank you.